So finally, an example of how we're actually going to use all this stuff. So let's say pigs are brought to market at a mean weight of 442 kilograms with a standard deviation of 17 kilograms. What is the probability that a market pig, selected at random, A weighs less than 437 kilograms, B weighs more than 430 kilograms, and C weighs between 440 and 450 kilograms? Okay, so we could see, let's get some information out of this. We can see that the mean is 442 kilograms. The standard deviation is 17 kilograms. And what the questions are asking is the probability that X is less than 437, the probability that X is more than 430, and the probability that 440 is less than X, which is less than 450. And that is a much more succinct way of writing out the whole question. Okay, so A, what do we want to do? So we want the probability that X is less than 437. And what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to figure out the z-score. That's going to be pretty constant. Thing that we're going to have to do. So to figure out the z-score, we're going to know that the z-score is x minus mu over sigma, which is going to be, our x value is 437. Our mean is 442. Our sigma is 17. And that's going to be equal to 437 minus 442 equals divided by 17. It's going to be negative 0.29. And we're going to, there's a lot of decimals, but we're going to round it to the nearest hundredth because that's what the table goes to. So now what happens is this changes. So now it's saying, okay, that was the z, but what that really is equal to is the probability that z is less than negative 0.29. And now we have a z-score. We can look it up on the table on the appropriate negative half. So negative 0.29 is negative 0.29 is going to be 38.59%. So it's going to be 38.59%. So the probability that the pig weighs less than 437 kilograms is 38.59%. Okay. Now, for B, what we're looking for is the probability that X is bigger than 430. And as you may or may not recall, that's the way you find a probability of it being bigger is you do 1 minus the probability of it being smaller. Once again, we're going to have to figure out the z-score. So z is x minus mu over sigma, which is going to be 430 minus 442 divided by 17, which is negative 12 over 17. Which is going to be negative 0.71. Okay, so then that becomes 1 minus the probability that the z-score is less than negative 0.71, which is going to be 1 minus and negative 0.71. Negative 0.71 is 23.89. So it's 23.89. And 1 minus 23.89 is 76.11, which is 76.11%. And obviously you would have to do a real answer. You'd have to say, therefore, the probability that a pig weighs more than 430 kilograms is 76.11%. Okay, so now for the most enjoyable one. Part C is the probability that 440 is less than x, which is less than 450. And the way we do that is we need to figure out the probability that x is less than 450, and we subtract the probability that x is less than 440. So when we find our z-scores, we're actually going to have to find two z-scores. So the z-score is going to be 450 minus 442 on 17, which is going to be 8 over 17. Which is 0.47. And the other z-score is going to be 440 minus 442 over 17, which is going to be negative 2 over 17, which is negative 0.12. So then we know what the z-scores. We could change this, so this becomes the probability that z is less than 0.47 minus the probability that z is less than negative 0.12. And now we're going to have to look up some values on the table. So the probability of being less than 0.47 is 6808. So 0.6808. It doesn't really matter if you do decimal or percentage as long as you're consistent about it. And negative 0.12 is going to be 4522. And that's going to be 6808 minus 4522. And that's going to give us 0.2286 or 22.86%. And that's the probability.